DBL Nation, welcome to Break Room for Friday, January 4th. I'm Jason Newtail, the EP of Social and Digital, and this is Kelly Schuberth, our digital producer. And we want to welcome you.
Yeah, to the new Break Room time.
Yeah, it's 9:30 Mountain Time, 11:30 Eastern Time.
That's the
so we thought having it earlier would be beneficial to you guys and to us. We can get more of your feedback into the shows. And so if you're watching, please share this on your feed.
On your pages.
So your friends can take a break with us and share their thoughts. There's a lot to talk about today.
There is a lot to talk about today.
Plenty of things to give your take on.
Yep.
So why don't you start, Kelly? What's going on?
Yeah, I actually wanted to give a shout out to two of our members of DBL Nation. Lily and Harper are watching today. Thanks for watching,
hey,
guys.
Lily and Harper. How are you?
What's going on? Thank you for watching today.
Always.
With my sister Katie. So,
oh, that's
hi, guys.
cool.
Yeah.
Welcome, guys. I hope you're caffeinated because we are.
Super caffeinated and bouncing around. So one of the big stories today is Kevin Hart. He's responding after that whole Oscars thing went down. He was invited to host the Oscars this year, and then some tweets resurfaced from 2008 that were homophobic. Tweets that he has already apologized for and said he was wrong for.
Right.
Again, this is back in 2008, 10 years ago. He appeared on Ellen, and Ellen is now campaigning for him to do the Oscars again, saying that there is no one else that they've picked to do the Oscars and host it, so I want you to do it. So take a look at the conversation and Kevin explaining how everything went down. Take a look, guys.
What is the gist of what they're saying?
Okay, guys, we don't have that stock quite yet.
Oh, okay.
He's pulling it up, but basically...
Well, it's an interesting situation.
Yeah, it really is. Tweets from 10 years ago, he kind of talks about how I've got 40,000 tweets. Someone had to have gone back through all those tweets to get back to 2008, and they're doing this on purpose, saying that it wasn't just an attack on him doing the Oscars.
And Ellen backed him up by calling the people who did bring these tweets up, which were homophobic tweets,
trolls is what
as
she's,
trolls.
Yeah.
And now she's getting a lot of
backlash
for labeling these people who are simply trying to bring attention to it as trolls. It's a really interesting conversation. I don't 100% know where I fall on it.
I don't either.
Because I have an issue. I kind of always have an issue with optically. This is Ellen representing the entire LGBT community by having him on and saying, hey, it's cool. Hey, we want you on the show, which it was a little placating, I thought. I thought she was really kind of championing. I wouldn't have minded having an honest conversation between the two of them about why some people are upset, why some people aren't. And she did do that a little bit. But at the end of the day, it was very clearly her pushing him to host the Oscars.
Yeah, take a look at the side. I think we have it now, the sound, and then we'll talk about it more after.
Openly, I say I'm wrong for my past words. I say it. I said it. I understand that. I know that. My kids know when their dad messes up, I'm in front of it because I want to be an example so they know what to do. In this case, it's tough for me because it was an attack. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't a coincidence. It wasn't a coincidence that the day after I received the job, that tweets just somehow manifested from 2008. Now, I don't know who follows me or who doesn't. I'm on social media every day. I got over 40,000 tweets. To go through 40,000 tweets to get back to 2008, that's an attack. That's a malicious attack on my character. That's an attack to end me. That's not an attack to just stop the Oscars. This is what I want people to understand. That's an attack to end me. Now, I'm not going to get too emotional, but when you witness this and you stand in front of it and you heard that these things exist. I've heard about it. I've never experienced it. I've heard about it. This was my first time in the fire. I've seen it. Oh my God. This was to destroy me. This was to end all partnerships, all brand relationships, all investment opportunities, studio relationships, my production company and the people that work underneath me. This was to damage the lives that have been invested in me. It's bigger than just the Oscars. It's about the individuals that are out there now that are finding success in damage. defining success and damaging your quote-unquote celebrity. Now, if you go back and I don't have a word, or if I don't have a bond, if I don't have anything to stand on, I'm now going right back into the place where the people that came after me want me to go. Somebody has to take a stand against the quote-unquote trolls. You have to.
Right, but they're going to win if you don't host the Oscars. You know, then they win. Openly, I say I'm wrong for my past words. I say it. I said it. I understand that. I know that.
That was a really long clip for us to be. We're just going to put Kelly in green sweaters from now on so we can chroma key clips onto her chest rather than just putting that awkward box.
And just so you know, we put it on the bottom so we don't get sued. So
we're thrifty.
We are. But we wanted you to hear that sound so you could hear.
Yeah.
But, do you think her calling them trolls was a mistake?
I think that was the misstep.
I agree with you.
A bad choice of words. You know, like you said, it seemed like they mentioned they had dinner together, so they clearly talked this through before, which is fine. And, you know, I accept his apology. I think you should forgive any people.
And people can grow.
And people can grow. I just think she took a side, it sounded like, when she said trolls, which there are many sides to this story.
And as a member of the gay community, how does that make you feel?
Oh, that she said trolls? And not good. Not good. I mean, listen, are we too PC? Yes. Are people too sensitive? Yes. Should you not call somebody out for those things? No, I think you should. Yeah. I don't think you should necessarily, listen, I think it's perfectly fine to bring up an old tweet of somebody and say, hey, not cool, pretty homophobic. Yeah. Do I think you should start, you know, petitioning for boycotts or not? Yeah. No. But you should I don't think there's anything wrong with raising this and putting it out for the conversation and saying, how do we all feel about this? If we're all okay with it, then that's fine. If we're not, but I am going to raise this as an issue as a gay person, that this is a slur from 8 years ago, and I'm not cool with it. But, you know, like I said, I wouldn't call for him to be fired or for sponsors to be taken away. That's where you start infringing.
And that's kind of what he's talking about. Like this wasn't just the Oscars.
And those, I guess, you know what? As I talk through it, if you're someone who's going that far and insisting that sponsors pull from you, it's maybe a little trollish. It's a little trollish.
Okay, yeah. And I do agree with you. I just hate her calling them trolls for standing up for something that
exactly.
You know what I mean?
There just should have been a little bit more nuanced language for that.
I agree. So our question, I want to know: do you think he should host the Oscars? Do you think he should take the job back?
Well, the fact that they haven't hired a replacement
says
clearly that there's some kind of negotiations happening. Either they're reaching out to him still and still very much want him, but there's clearly something, because they would have by now in a normal situation, I think,
would have announced
rolled out
who's
a new
hosting,
announcer, a new host.
And I do wonder. Do you think we should forgive Kevin Hart? Do you think people can change? Or do you think...
Of course.
I mean, that's what I think.
Should we forgive people? Yes, of course we should forgive.
Yeah, listen, people make mistakes.
In an era where people more than not these days double down on their BS.
Agreed.
If somebody says, I truly see what you're talking about and have seen the light and have changed and evolved, then yes, we very much should forgive them. We're not playing very fair if we don't forgive people when they acknowledge things, and then we get mad at people when they double down.
That's exactly. It's not fair. That's unfair. Yeah.
Logical.
Let's see.
But let us know what you guys think. I mean,
I want to know what you guys think. Would you like
to
see Kevin Hart host the Oscars now? Is there somebody else you'd like to see host the Oscars? Let us know who, if you have any ideas. Let's move to our fifth host topic now.
Yeah, this is a really interesting one, I think.
You need me? Oh, okay. I've got to escape.
Well, great.
Yes,
well, I will cover the fifth host.
Sorry, guys.
This is a really interesting story. I think you guys are going to have a lot to say. So there's a new story trending this morning. CNN.com had it a couple 48 hours ago, and a lot of local stations are covering it. But apparently there is a new test strip, okay, that allows people who use street drugs like cocaine and heroin to test whether their drugs are laced with fentanyl. Now, as many of you may or may not know, fentanyl is the drug that is being cut into a lot of these street drugs that is causing a lot of overdoses. It's kind of an instant death. It's what Michael Jackson passed away from, if that's anything. So the problem here is if the drug tests positive, the drug user may then decide not to use them or will use less of them. So the question here is ethical. Is the government providing such a test or medical facilities providing such a test for addicts helping them, saving lives, or is it enabling them? This is kind of an age-old question. I know a lot of you at home are like, well, this is the discussion we had 20 years ago about clean needles, or this is the discussion we had about 5 years ago about Norcam. But what strikes me as odd that in 2018 this is still a divisive thing, so much so that the Trump administration's Assistant Secretary of Health and Human Services for Mental Health and Substance Abuse has expressed ardent opposition to the use of these strips. He actually says by enabling these people and their lifestyle, we're giving them a false sense of safety, which I think is a really interesting word choice in 2018 to use the word lifestyle. Addiction, I think, in my opinion, and I think the medical profession's opinion, is it's a medical problem. It's an addiction. To call it a lifestyle, I don't know. Lifestyle is never a good word to use, I think, these days, because it's loaded with the assumption that people simply are choosing to use drugs over not using drugs. And if you're addicted, it's not really a choice. I think in 2018, I think most of us are there. But the point is, this is the government saying that they are opposed to providing this test strip. So my question to you guys is, what do you think? Is it helping if it saves a couple lives, or is it enabling people to continue? Another thing the Trump administration said was, this will not stop someone. If it does test positive for fentanyl, they believe it won't stop them from using it. So, which is true. I mean, they are given the choice to use it. But I think any protection we can give someone to possibly save their lives, I think is a good thing. But we want to know what you guys think. Where do you stand on this, Kelly?
This is another one that I don't know where I stand on it, because I feel like giving them these strips will help save more Americans from dying, our citizens, our comrades from dying. But I also feel like it is enabling a little bit, because it's saying, I don't know. Sorry.
No, you're a little bit more. You're a little bit more on the fence about it than I am.
What do you think?
I think it's always good.
You think it's always good because it's going to save lives? Yeah.
But I can see the other.
It's hard.
The other side of the fence is, well, survival of the fittest, I suppose. Yep. Which is a little harsh.
Oh, that is so hard.
It's a little harsh for humanity.
Because they're still human beings.
But you're like, if people are going to make choices that are going to put their lives in jeopardy, then you should allow them. That's the libertarian.
You're right. But then I look at the other end of it. These people are addicts. They're addicted to these things. They could die if they don't.
Here's the thing. I think in the medical profession, your sole job is to keep people
alive,
healthy as much as possible, and alive if you can.
And
I think saving a young person who's got a lot of life ahead of them from ODing, and they can, and there's even if it's a slight chance that they can wake up and rehabilitate and get off of the drugs, then I feel like that's a plus. You're right. But we want to know what you guys think.
And I'm interested to hear more from the Trump admin, because I know I want to get it right exactly who said this. The Assistant Secretary of Health and Human Services for Mental Health and Substance Abuse. She's the one that's expressed opposition to the use of these strips. President Trump has talked about the opioid crisis quite a bit, so I wonder if he feels the same way as his Assistant Secretary of Health and Human Services for Mental Health and Substance Abuse.
Yeah, it's interesting to see.
You know what I mean? That. I don't know who that is. I don't know if this woman has a lot of pull. I believe it's a woman, at least. So I wonder what the White House thinks about this, because I do feel like they've been taking steps to make it better.
Yeah.
But yeah, what does our DBL Nation think? Send us your comments, you guys. We want to know what you think about this, because it is a very touchy subject. And we know we also have a lot of people who are addicts out there in our audience that have been open and expressed that to us, and how they're sober and how they worked through that. How do you feel about this? Do you feel that it's enabling, or do you feel that it will help people and it'll help save lives? This one's a touchy one. This one's hard. I don't know how I feel about it. I really don't. But I'd love to hear your comments. Of course, you're our 5th host. We have 4 panelists. But
all right,
this is a safe space.
Kim on YouTube says,
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea. It's definitely saving them. It's like having a supervised injection area. Right. So this is, so obviously Kim,
Yep.
you know, like myself, probably
yeah.
whether it's clean needles or Norcam or this, probably stands on the same lines of safe spaces to help save people is a good thing.
Because it is all kind of on the same, the Narcan, all of that stuff. It is kind of on the same plateau as this. It saves lives.
John Venturini, good morning to you, man. Happy Friday. Oh, look at you, Nation and Newtail. Maybe that's what we'll start calling this show.
You're kicking me out now.
I like it.
I'm being
No, it'll
kicked
be Nation and Newtail and Company.
And Co. and Cal. And
John,
Co.
John, I just lost your comment. But
John.
Hold on.
Where'd it go?
But he was saying basically, don't we have a responsibility? And I
think
believe we
you're
do.
right. I think as our fellow Americans, I think we have a responsibility to help keep people alive and help.
Right. John says, don't we have a role in the HHS, SSA, CMS to protect the populace and keep them alive, keep them healthy?
Yeah.
So wouldn't...
Oh my gosh, why does this keep going away?
Excuse us, guys. So wouldn't something intended to saving our youth in case of OD be a godsend and not a hindrance?
I think so.
I believe that. I want to know from somebody who doesn't. I mean, I'm sure there's people who have dealt with loved ones who have addiction and have not gotten better and have not seen any help and have probably
and you
at the end of
you
their
enabled
ropes,
them and now you're not anymore. You
exactly,
know what I mean?
Exactly. So Jacob Henry said, I wouldn't back up the past, but it's one thing to do, but bring back the past. You don't know what's going to bring back pain. We're talking about the old tweets.
Yep,
the old
Oscars
tweets.
and
Yes,
Kevin
could be
Hart.
painful. Somebody said 8 years ago. Yes, people learn. I mean, 8 years ago was a long time. Kim also says that we should forgive Kevin Hart, but I also think the Oscars should not host like they did that one time in the 80s.
You know, another thing we were talking about today, are the Golden Globes the new Oscars? The Oscars...
Are the Golden Globes the new... Well, that's an interesting question.
You know what I mean?
It used to be the Golden Globes predicted who would win the Oscar.
Yep.
Now I think the SAG Awards predict who's going to win the Golden Globe, and the
that
Oscars are kind of so late in the game.
Yeah, and I feel like the past few years the Oscars has had trouble, you know, with the Oscars so white, that entire thing. And I wonder... I feel like this year they have a chance to change
to
things.
redeem it?
I do, especially
they haven't
with Black
started,
Panther.
But this, yeah.
But I just wonder if this is the not the end of the Oscars, obviously, but if people are going to start watching things like the Golden Globes, which is this Sunday, or...
Well, I'd be curious to see if the ratings have gone up on some of these. I think overall the award shows have gotten tedious for people.
Yeah.
The Golden Globes are fun because they get drunk at the tables.
Yeah,
and that's always fun to watch your favorite celebrity get...
Someone shows up with no shoes on.
3 sheets to the wind. Yeah. But at the same time, I think overall people are just kind of tired of the self-congratulations.
I think so, too.
And the field of movies is so wide now.
So wide.
That chances are you didn't see any of the movies that were nominated.
Which is a lot of times the case for me with the Oscars anyway.
Yeah, I mean, you know, everything is so segregated now. I mean, now more than ever, you're probably not going to go to the local art house in a big city and see, you know, a fish person sleeping with a woman.
Yeah. Sam was obsessed with that movie last year. I still haven't seen it, but
yeah,
she loved that movie. So.
I watched Mary Poppins Returns last night.
How was it?
It was good.
It was this is what I've heard. It was good but unnecessary.
Yep, good but unnecessary is a great thing.
That's what I've heard.
I did not enjoy the music compositions nearly as much as the original.
Really?
Like the Sherman Brothers songs, and obviously...
Do you think it's because it's nostalgic?
Right, because it's ingrained in my head for 40 years. I thought the acting was great, but
That's what I heard.
I also don't think they had the chemistry. I don't think Emily Blunt and Lin-Manuel...
Did Julie Andrews make an appearance at all?
I did not see her. They said she did, but Andrew and I did not see her.
I feel like she needed to.
Angela
like
Lansbury was there, which was amazing, and Dick Van Dyke was there, which was amazing. It was great to see them.
Maybe Julie Andrews wasn't happy they were making a remake.
I don't know. Julie has a lot of problems with her throat.
Oh, does she?
Can't sing anymore.
Okay. Then that probably has a lot to do with it.
She doesn't live in the States.
No, that probably has a lot to do with it.
I was shocked to see Angela Lansbury.
Yeah.
Still on. God bless her.
Yep.
You know, I stood behind her once in the airport in Hawaii. I did.
You know,
she was very put together. She had matching luggage from like...
Oh my God, that's amazing.
It was like a 6-piece matching luggage set.
I love...
And she was wearing a sensible khaki safari type pantsuit.
Sensible.
It was very...
Very airplane
She
friendly.
looked... By the way, no assistants, completely put together head to toe, looked amazing, stood in front of us, didn't say a word. I didn't say a word.
Something?
What?
I don't know who that is.
You don't know who Angela Lansbury is?
The
That's
name's
not
familiar.
a good look, Kelly.
I know.
I'm gonna.
It's 2 days in a row now.
I'm gonna
I don't know
school
who
you
people
right
are
now
that I should know.
It's not a good look.
I know it's not a good look, but I feel like this is a learning opportunity for me. Who did she play in the original?
Yeah, but the problem is nobody's got time to teach you
I
everything
know,
about
I'm
Angela
sorry.
Lansbury.
I'm sorry.
You got to go and learn yourself.
Okay, I'm going to.
You got to go school yourself.
I'm going to.
Because that's what it, yeah. She's famous. You should know.
I know the name. I don't know the face.
She is partially responsible for every amazing young person story today.
So I need to know who she is.
Yeah, it's your history.
It probably is everything
Sorry.
I ever watched. No.
You let us.
This is what we do here. We teach each other things. We're honest. We're open.
I shame.
It's fine. It's fine.
Shame.
It's fine. So another story we're talking about today that is very important. The government shutdown. We're still talking about that. The Wall Street Journal is reporting today that tax refunds could be delayed because of this. So this is a really big deal. I'll be tracking this story all day, but the issue is, of course, with the government shutdown, the Wall Street Journal reports that the IRS is only operating with 12% of its employees.
Oh, that is great to know.
12%. So, of course...
One would think that would be a great thing to avoid audits. So let's keep the shutdown going.
So it can process some tax returns, but it can't run the audits or answer any questions or allocate refunds. So obviously, a lot of low-income families, people who need that money and depend on that money, they file
it's
early.
a huge problem. I mean, many people depend on their tax refund.
And they're hoping for it back by February.
Well, right. It's a huge thing. You almost bank on it most of the time.
A lot of people bank on it. And this year especially, it was going to be bigger because of the tax changes.
Right.
So it's...
This is a brilliant way to avoid the reality that your tax break really isn't going to be a break at all.
That's a really good point. That's a really good point.
Interesting. There's all kinds of other things now that are really starting to trickle down to everyone.
Yep. So
fishing.
Fishing in Polk, I believe it's Polk County in Alaska. That's where a lot of our fish comes
where
from.
Like almost
billions of dollars.
A huge amount of the fish for the entire country comes from.
Yeah. So that's you think it doesn't affect you, but you can't get that fish sandwich from McDonald's today. You know what I mean? Like that stuff's going to start to go away. It's insane.
Also HUD, which is, HUD is in charge of urban development for low-income families, elderly people. They're in charge of going in and checking dwellings for safety, mold and everything. And there's actually been incidences in the past 2 weeks where people with asthma have been suffering some bad mold situations. An apartment collapsed.
People could die because of that.
So this is, there's children and elderly people living in situations that need to be monitored by HUD, and they are not getting that kind of safety inspection. So that's an issue.
So there's a lot of stuff happening.
I feel like we were talking about this today. My feeling about this, talking about the government shutdown is it's really a bipartisan issue. Because at the end of the day, you can blame the Democrats, you can blame Trump, but as the people, our government is not doing what their job is, which is to help us. And no matter who's in the administration, they need to work together to solve these issues, and no matter who's in the president or who's running Congress, they need to do their jobs. The job is not getting done. It hasn't been getting done for a while. So there's a lot of people chiming in about the fifth host.
Tammy Gibson, just real quick on the government shutdown, she said, didn't Pelosi sign something last night to end the shutdown? Yes, House Dems did pass a bill last night, but White House is fighting back. Trump is fighting back against that. So we're just going to have to continue following it today and see what happens.
But you're right, effort.
But yeah, effort.
Something. Going back to the fifth host, I just wanted to, Danny White says, tossing a test strip to prevent an OD is like tossing a life jacket to prevent drowning. The trouble, let me click more. It is great. Let me click more so I can read more of it.
Oh my gosh, is it not showing it?
Oh my God. Well, that was a great point. We could read more, we would. Berdine, Bomer Spring. Here in Canada, we have drug consumption rooms where someone who is a drug addict can go and take their medication safely. Yep, that is,
Smart.
It's a smart thing. Stephen Hill. Hey, did y'all change the time earlier for this? Yes. Stephen, we are on now at 9:30. That's so great. Yeah, we're on earlier. So so grab that first cup of coffee with us instead of that second or third. We're happy to have you here.
Before you go to lunch too, if you're on the East Coast.
But Danny White, DBL Break Room. I always forget hashtag ARG. Hey, that's okay, Danny. We're happy that you're just writing. We see it. We get it. But thank you guys. Yes. So Danny answered for Stephen before us. Stephen, we apologize. but we're having some technical difficulties here. Just wanted to say hello to Brenda Ledbetter, Danny White. Hey, people. Hey, back to you.
Hi.
Hey, Stacy Lynn Sorber. So thank you guys for watching. We're going to get the comments fixed for Monday.
Yes, of course. We'll have that ready on Monday.
But why don't we go to a Heart Thread?
So it's Feel Good Friday.
They always save our lives.
Yeah, it's Feel Good Friday, so I wanted to do a happy Heart Thread, so take a look.
Have a great weekend.
What I remembered from the war never left my mind, and it was so fresh that I could have guessed where I was if you just dropped me in blindfolded. I didn't wait to be drafted. Right on my 18th birthday, of course, I enlisted. I was assigned to B-17s, which were the big bombers. I flew from Georgia to Britain. I don't talk too much about the bombing missions. People think of the Air Forces as a destructive mechanism. But we flew 3 humanitarian missions, and to me, they were the most important missions of all. I remember the plane very, very clearly. We had the plastic plexiglass bubble in the front. I sat in the bubble. It was eye to eye with the German and the guy who was trying to shoot me. It's indelible in my mind because it was me home. My plane was home.
I was all excited about it. I had been spending so much time with him that summer, and I was learning so much about the flights and everything that went on through the war. And like you said, he never talked about the bad parts of the war. It was only good experiences that he had. That when it came to this, I wanted to experience it too.
She called me and said, I'd like to take you for lunch. And we went to Frederick Airport, she said, because there was a nice restaurant. And suddenly I'm sitting there and I hear my daughter yell out, "Lieutenant Jacobs, get your ass off of that chair. They're waiting for you. You got to fly a mission." I'm like, what are you talking about?
It's the first time I ever saw him speechless.
It was like a complete blank. I said, what, am I dreaming? What is she talking about? The minute I entered the B-17, I could have been blindfolded and knew exactly where I was just by the little bit of smell of the fuel. So they gave me the map. I drew them the line. I told them that it's 272 degrees and there was bombs away.
I think it bonded us so much closer, even though we're a close-knit family anyhow.
No matter how many stories I told them, would they ever have realized what it was to be like on the B-17?
Everything I'd heard about, all of a sudden, it had a visual to it, which just, it made such a world of difference. And it was also because he's a great dad, and it was just a once in a lifetime you didn't want to pass up, and he's extraordinary.